As here we are in Silverstone, and look at this, McDonald's rain dance has been answered as he begins his 2 qualifying efforts on a very wet Great Britain. As you probably would expect, the end of the B round here. Actually, it's been snowing in the last couple of days, so we haven't quite got that in the game, no. So let's see what McDonald can do on board his Suzuki for maybe his final ride on board the Japanese constructor's bike. As it's been a very up and down journey on this bike. It's been good results. It's been more consistent than he was on the Yamaha, but maybe could have had a couple more podiums to add to the total, such as in Catalonia, in the Saxon Ring, and maybe even last time out in Austria as well. Almost continued the pattern, would have. Vinales, the championship leader, just did not make contact with McDonald in the final corner, but we'll see in these conditions if he can continue the pattern of at least winning every other race on the Suzuki. You can definitely do it in these conditions. Loves the wet, does McDonald. You can see sliding the rear out on the Suzuki, but holding it almost everywhere. Even running right out of the loop through Aintree onto the Wellington Straight. So that might just be a banker, not sure. He'd be quick enough to go through, but often is on his first effort in these conditions. Often the class of the field is McDonald. He runs very deep into that field. You normally want to go wide, but not that wide. As he wait eternity to get back onto the power. And he goes through Woodcote, dabbing the brakes in the wet. So he didn't slide too wide. That's a 58.6. That's not a bad first effort. Let's see if we can do better on this second as other riders start to come out of the pits now to get drenched. In these conditions, go through Maggots and then through Beckett. Never did we know it had elevation change like this, Silverstone. There's all McDonald a 10th down. This goes down the inside, I believe that's Hector Barbara. He's had a couple of brushes with this season so far, including last time out. It goes through the right-hander through Stowe. It's got to wait to get on the power. Actually, it wasn't last time out, was it? I'm thinking way back, aren't I? It's like Magello. It's all through. Double right through Veld and Club. Rear end just sliding everywhere. But we're still a 10th up, despite curb popping. Now through Abbey. Again, that rear sliding, but it hits that apex beautifully. And then through Farm slight left. Nice and smooth on the power. Jamming that rev limit in third. They're just so smooth on the power on the exit. Let's see if we can get this loop right. He can this time as Rabat goes down. No surprise we have a fall in these tricky conditions. I'm looking at 4 tenths up now, McDonald. He's motoring as he goes past the stricken Rabat. Then into the left. Nice late apex through Brooklands. In through Luffield again. This is much better, not going as wide. Doesn't have to wait as long to get on the power, but still feathering it a bit too much. To lift off slightly and in through Woodcote. Just a slight lift this time. Oh, he's smashing that time. 56. And he didn't even need to set it. Look at that. He's in a different race, McDonald. At least in qualifying 1, as Petrucci was half a mile back. With Espargaro just missing out in 3rd. Redding in 4th. Miller 5th. This the 6th. Bad 7th. Rins in 8th once again with Bradley Smith at the back. And Sam knows in our home race. But let's see if McDonald can continue this form in qualifying 2. As here goes McDonald for his 1 lap in qualifying 2 to grab pole. Whether he gets anywhere near that time for qualifying 1, he'll be on pole by a country and a mile. Not since the infamous session in 1979 round Watkins Glen, when Gilles Villeneuve in a Ferrari was allegedly up to 12 seconds faster than anyone else in practice in the wet. Have we seen someone dominate that much in a session, in the wet, on a motorbike or a race car. Let's see what McDonald can do. In qualifying 2, has to keep the bike upright and not go over the curves like he did through Stoke. That's all, he's turning way too early into Velt. And in through Club. Just get smoothed on the power through 3rd. Then off the power, nice and smooth exit. Look at that through the other start, finish straight. Past the Silverstone wing. There he caught the pile. I'm surprised he's out there. Hovering. As we go through farm. Just going to be under the 2-minute barrier, McDonald. Don't need you pushing too hard. Like he was on that second effort in qualifying 1. There's all. Whiz up the tyres. Trying to get on the power and in for entry. Nice and smooth on the exit. Looking supreme again. Here's the Suzuki. He has come alive in these conditions. As he goes through Brookins, nicely hitting that apex. And then into the field. Tied to apex this time. But much better on the power. Didn't feather it too much. And then through Woodcote, slight lift. Early on the power. It's not as quick as qualifying 1, but it didn't need to be. As he's on pole by a furlong or 2 ahead of Marquez and Vinales, with Rossi leading the Segredo, Dovi and Pedrosa, and Crutchlow on home turf leading the third of Iannone and Lorenzo. Then Zaga rounds out the top 10 of Petrucci and his teammate Volga. So can McDonald continue the pattern with a victory in the race? As we look at the grid with Blue still at the top, and I see a championship leader in 3rd, and Rossi as well with Marquez right up there. As look at it's dried up for the race in the background. As there's Spargo in the 5th row, Rins on the 6th row alongside Batista and Lois Baz. So it revs up the engine, right for the lights to appear. And go out for this 5-lap race. Can he hold the lead heading into Cops? Oh, he can, as you can see. No rain falling, but still a wet track. So they didn't quite drought overnight. So McDonald's rain dance seems to have disappeared. But still a wet track in these conditions where the Suzuki was flying in qualifying. Let's see if he can back it up in the race over these 5 laps. As he's already ahead of Marquez by a few tenths. And then Rossi in 3rd. Jumped his teammate Vinales at the start, but we saw Maverick come on so strong in the second half of the race in Austria. No doubt he'll try that again as well. Look at that bump into Stoke. Awesome McDonald ride, but it's into the wet stuff. Heavier wet stuff. So you won't mind, that will cool the tyres. As it goes a bit wide. Into Velt. And then through Club. Look at that Rossi flying in the wet conditions. Up to 2nd ahead of Marquez. But way behind McDonald by almost 2 seconds already. Oh, the Suzuki making a break for it as the rain is starting to fall again. Just as we thought we might have a race where we had to worry about the track drying in the latter stages. Not at all, as Paul Espargaro is down from 18th on his KTM, having a good start. But not having a good finish in it, it's like. As you go through Aintree. And McDonald 2.5 ahead of Rossi. This is going to be a lonely race at the front for McDonald. As he's trying to do an Ayrton Senna. And Donington 93 put away at the front by a country mile. Didn't have to battle his way through the field though. What the Brazilian did, as Marcus and Rossi battling out for 2nd behind. He does a 2-minute 0.9. That would have been great in qualifying, and let alone the race. This is 3.6 ahead of Marquez. He's battling hard with Rossi. This is good for the championship though, with Vinales off the podium. And look at this, the track is getting drenched again. McDonald running wide through Maggots and Beckett's. Of course, he's the first rider to encounter these conditions in this 2nd lap, where it's a bit wetter. And so you may be pushing the envelope a bit too much in that first sector. Still 3.9 ahead of Marquez now, with Rossi in 3rd. Vinales nowhere to be seen. Got to watch out for Danilo Petrucci in these conditions. He was pretty good. in qualifying, as you saw on the 4th row, but expect the Premier rider to come alive in these conditions, where he got his best result in MotoGP a few years back behind Rossi. Oh, we could have won that race. Well, I think Rossi just had a bit too much in the bag, as he proved in the final few laps. But if Danilo attacked a bit earlier, maybe tried to put a gap on Rossi, you never know. To go through this complex, such a Mickey Mouse section to tag on to a fast circuit. But I guess that's what people would have felt about the Brooklands-Suffield section after Silverstone used to just be flat out from that Abbey turn until Woodcote. Before that section got added in the 90s, this section in the early to mid 90s. For it came in this configuration, I believe, around 20 years ago now. Used to be a double left at the end of the lap, or double right, should I say. But now it's just one sweeping corner, and much better for it, as McDonald 59 won. Marcus and Rossi may be holding themselves up with the battling, as they're 7.6 behind, but still, it doesn't account for a few seconds per lap, so than McDonald. Here in this Suzuki are just at one rounder. But yeah, it is amazing how history has repeated itself for Silverstone. Now, 20 years after their first so complex got added to this airfield circuit, it used to just be straights and a couple of bends. Now, look, it is almost 20 corners long. Or around 20 corners long. Now very long in that time on a motorbike. Around 2 minutes, over 2 minutes long. As Pedrosa Danny down from 6th in his Honda. You don't often see that. But Pedrosa's made mistakes this season. Despite pushing Marcus pretty hard on occasion. It's good to see. So halfway through this race, and McDonald has almost a 10-second lead. He can just cruise in the second half of the race, look after the tyres, which are around a third of the way worn. And the rears around quarter of the way worn on the fronts. So there's some tyre wear to contend with, and some throttle as well. Don't want to be putting too much throttle in McDonald. It almost loses the wear there. Look at that gap, so big. Timing scoring isn't bothering to update in the bottom left now, at the end of each sector. As Marcus and Rossi do battle for second, maybe Marcus is pulling away on his Honda. Or she had to go early on to maybe break the Honda, but it's not working so far. Or maybe not. And there goes Rossi back through in the complex. Small does a 58 this time, 58.5. He is trying to match his qualifying pace. And the race is on to the penultimate lap of it. This like helicopter pilot stuck over Maggots and Beckett. I would say he doesn't know where he's going, but that seems to be the case for most of the circuits. As there's Marcus back past Rossi in the first couple of corners of the lap. So it exits Chapel, the tighter Chapel for the bikes, onto the hangar straight. Maybe just too high a speed, maybe Chapel. Trying to make that last corner of the complex into maybe a passing spot. Help the slipstream onto the start finish straight. Hopefully it doesn't happen for the F1 cars. Or for the four-wheeled variety having that tighter Chapel. I'm not a big fan of it. Maybe even harms the chances of maybe slipstreaming happening on that hangar straight. We'll see in the future. As I said, they've done so many changes to Silverstone over the past 60 odd years, 70 odd years now. Since racing began around this airfield after the Second World War. Hosted the first ever F1 race back in May 1950. From the royal family, they had the royal box. I believe that's around the start finish straight. And Giuseppe Farina won in his Alfa Romeo. Reg Parnell managed to get on the podium for the home fans in third. And I think Ron Manuel Fangio was trying to win that first race, but then he had car failures. Now Farina to come through and win, and he would go on to win the first F1 World Championship ahead of Fangio. And Luigi Frangioni as well, is a pretty handy pre-war racer. So it does sets another 5, so that was on the final up the race. Now 58-1. He dip into the 57s. Yeah, Frangioni, I think he raced for Mercedes off the top of my head. When they were really strong in the mid-30s along with Auto Union. The likes of Alfa Romeo had to try and catch up under the guidance of Enzo Ferrari before he created Ferrari in the post-World War. Luigi Frangioni, one of the few kind of racers to take part in the official F1 World Championship from 1950 onwards. Had raced in the 20s or 30s pre-war. I think Louis Chouon as well, who's the oldest Grand Prix racer, I remember correctly. He was in his mid to late 50s, I remember when he was racing. And of course he has that corner at Monaco, in his native Monaco, named after that far chicane leading into the swimming pool section, is named after him. Yeah, he was a pretty handy racer pre-World War as well, or World War II should we say. Fangio, the oldest driver to win a race as well, in his early 50s, alongside Juan Manuel Fangio in 50... Was it 50 or 51? I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it was 51 when they shared the victory in Switzerland. My Grand Prix knowledge is not as good as it used to be. But yeah, before F1 came about, you had the Motorcycle World Championship in 49, a year earlier. Even though F1 had unofficial World Championship races from 47 onwards, I think, off the top of my head. So having it a year earlier in 49, I believe Luigi Ferrosi would have been world champion in the Ferraris, but he wasn't. It was Alfa Romeo to dominate, just like McDonald did under the wet in Silverstone. What a ride from the Suzuki, as he won by 18.1 seconds ahead of Rossi. He was just half a tenth ahead of Marcus at the line. What a battle they had for second. Vinales scored solid points in fourth, though, ahead of Dovi and Lorenzo, normally so good in Ducati in the wet. I just saw the best result of fifth, ahead of Crutchlow in seventh. There's Petrucci in eighth. I told you to watch out for the promote rider. Good result ahead of Sarko and Folger on the tech-free, rounding out the top 10. There was Scott Redding, Jack Miller, Tito Rabat in 13th on the Mark VDS. What a race for Mark VDS in 12th and 13th, with Alex Rins in 14th, bringing home the bacon on the Suzuki. Head of Iannone down in 19th. Daniel Pedrosa scoring the final point despite his fall. Head of Lois Baz, while less than half a second with Alvaro Bautista at the back. So in the championship, Vinales leads by just 2 points ahead of Rossi with 6 races remaining. How tight is it between the Yamaha pair? And McDonald up to third now after that victory, just 12 points back and 7 points ahead of Dovi. Just 19 points separate the top 4 still, though. Fantastic championship on our hands, with Marquez in fifth, 18 points behind Davizio, so about 44 ahead of Petrucci. He's being caught by Lorenzo, who's up to 7th. Level on points with Pedrosa, about 18 points behind his fellow Ducati rider, with Zarco in 9th. And Crutch around out top 10, just 2 points behind the Frenchman. Iannone in 11th, falling back slightly. 23 points off a top 10 now. We're running in 12th. We brought the bacon for Britain in that race. And then we have also got Rins up to 16th ahead of Baz after a good point score. And then we've got Carl Abraham at the back, unfortunately. And then we've got Yamaha 49 points ahead of Ducati, who are just 8 points ahead of Honda. And Suzuki in 4th, catching Honda 49 points back and over 100 ahead of Aprilia. Well, in the team's rankings, a 116 point lead for Yamaha over Ducati. Suzuki just 6 points back in third, 12 points ahead of Honda. Then Pramac in 5th, Tech 3 in 7th, LCR 7th, Gresini in 8th, Avinti in 9th, Aspar in 10th, Mark VDS 11th, pulling away from the scoreless factory KTM effort. As yes, another happy McDonald with his 4th victory of the season, remember correctly. Going to a partying in the wet tonight. And where will Patrick McDonald end his Grand Prix motorcycle career? In MotoGP, will it be on board the Honda, Yamaha, Ducati, LCR Honda, Monza Yamaha Tech 3, Pramac Ducati, Aprilia Racing Team Cressini, the Aspar team, and the Aventio Racing team, the factory KTM effort Mark VDS, or we remain with Suzuki. Well, have you been keeping track of McDonald's MotoGP career? He's written on board the Aprilia, the KTM, the Ducati, the Yamaha, and the Suzuki. So that leaves one constructor for McDonald to ride on board, and that is the Honda alongside Marc Marquez and Danny Pedrosa. Or does he go on board the LCR Honda? Alongside Crutchlow, who does not have a teammate. She'll make it the LCR Honda. And let's see what McDonald can do aboard his new bike round the Misano World Circuit Marco Simoncelli. As there's another different sounding bike for McDonald to get the grips with in this final 6th race of the season. But if it's anything like the Ducati of Hinji had last season, I think McDonald will be happier. Has been on a factory machine, hasn't proved to be that good for McDonald in MotoGP level. Yes, he's got 3 victories on board the Suzuki, but the Yamaha proved to be difficult at the beginning of the season. Last season, the factory KTM effort got a few victories, but was very up and down. So, being back on a satellite bike such as the Aprilia Cressini, yes, it's a factory effort with Aprilia, but Cressini are a satellite team, and so it actually counts as a satellite entry, which is a bit ridiculous. And then being on the Aventio on board that Ducati was a dream, so let's see if ending on a satellite Honda is as dream-like for McDonald. The last 6 races of the season, just like last season, where he ran out that season. And if he does it again, no doubt it'll be a double MotoGP champion, the first McDonald to maintain that championship, retain his championship. So let's see what he can do on his first effort on this bike. And this Misano World Circuit, Marco Simoncelli, named after the late 250cc world champion, an up-and-coming MotoGP rider when he got killed, unfortunately, in Malaysia back in 2011. And a tragic week which began with Dan Weldon perishing, the double Indy 500 champion, 2005 IndyCar champion in Las Vegas. You know, saw the death of an off-road racer, I remember, in that airplane crash as well. They always come in threes, don't they, unfortunately. And we saw that in that week. I think it was Hausman was the name of that off-road racer. Multiple champ as well in that discipline. Unfortunately, we've seen that this week in Britain as well. The likes of Ken Dodd, then Stephen Hawking, and Jim Bone dying on the same day. Of course, Stephen Hawking, the brilliant physicist. I can never say that right. He has changed perception of time and space, and is one of the most important people in history for the human race. He is definitely a huge loss, and he's someone we all are going to miss. Even if we don't realise it, we are going to miss that genius. It's all McDonald a bit slow on this, that. And then Ken Dodd and Jim Bone, just very good comedians. Jim Bone, the host of Bullseye in Britain for a number of years, a dart show. New cyclist Tony Green and Bully, an animation, a mascot. And Ken Dodd, just a very quick-witted comedian, as, McDonald's slower. Most popular back in the 60s and 70s, but Ken Dodd still very relevant, up to even last year when he got knighted as well. But we did miss that trio, did miss the trio as well in motorsports. But McDonald did not miss out on going through the qualifying too, just slower than Petrucci by 55 thousandths of a second, and just faster than Espargaro by less than a tenth of a second. But Honda was very smooth though, the smoothest bike so far this season. Suzuki a bit all over the place at times, not in the wet though, that was a dream. And then the Yamaha just all over the place, especially with the hard rear tyres. And then with the Avinti, a bit like that. That was just very smooth handling, that LCR Honda on those 2 qualifying efforts. Not the fastest though, have to work on the pace. As the Spargo just missed out along with Scott Redding, Jack Miller, Batista, Baz, Alex Wins, Tito Rubat, Hector Barbeck, Abraham, Paul Spargo, and the 2 Brits Lowe's and Smith at the back. As here goes McDonald for his second effort. In qualifying 2, but his only effort in this session. As he goes through this tight and twisty first section. It's a bit like the Saxon Ring, this circuit. Tight and twisty in the first half and really opens up in the second, as you saw. Especially through those fast right-hand sweepers. Well, pushing hard though on this effort. A bit wide, going onto the back straight here. These in the rear. As helicopter pilot hovers in hope of something happening into the hairpin. Well, it's not actually the race, buddy. You're a bit early there. And so you've got clouds overhead though. Maybe McDonald's rain dance will work for the race. You won't mind that again. Let's go for the fast right-hander. Hooking up that apex beautifully. A bit late onto the power though. So it's nice and smooth again from McDonald, but maybe not extracting the maximum speed out of this LCR Honda. We'll see through the fast right-hand sweep is a bit wide. How did he stay upright on the bike there? You could see that was pointing the wrong direction after rejoining the track. Somehow holds on. He goes through the hairpin. Now into the penultimate corner, just off the throttle. Then hard on it, all over the curb on the exit. And this final corner fade, just even got the brake a bit early. Oh, just off the line, no. For McDonald as he races towards the line. It's going to be a 32-33 one, which is a very good effort on the second row alongside Pedrosa on the Works Honda. And Dovi has Rossi grabs a home pole. No doubt the fans are excited about that. With Vinales in second, Marquez in third. Then Lorenzo and McDonald's teammate Crutchlow in the middle of the third row alongside Zarko. And then Iannone, his ex-teammate now, leading the fourth row under Suzuki, ahead of Petrucci and the owners for Olga. So what can McDonald do on his debut race for LCR Honda? A podium would be very handy. As we look at the grid with green still now, the Hulk, should we say? On the second row, there's a very smiley Crutcher in the middle of the third row. We're taking outside the top 12. We've got Spogo leading the fifth row. Batista leading the sixth. Right at the back are the Brits as usual. As McDonald revs it up. Is that Groove's tyres on the back as he waits for the lights to appear? And go out for the 7 lap race. And it is wet. The rain dance has worked. As Marcus has slowed down and so is Rossi. It's all McDonald almost into the back of Vinales. It's that Dovi having a good start, but McDonald with the best start of all round the outside of Rossi, is he? Trying to upset the home fans already. As he's right in the slipstream of the Yamaha. Looking round the outside into the right. That's not going to work as all Marquez gets into the back of McDonald, who slides down the inside of Rossi, who went wide in that right-hander. Now onto the back straight. Vinales goes right over the curves and McDonald leads already. Just over a sector into this race from 6th on the grid. What a dream start. As the helicopter pilot seemed to spend overnight on that back straight. And now you finally get to see some action as Rossi. And with Vinales, this is very good for the championship. As Rossi will take over the championship lead. If he finished ahead of Vinales. McDonald putting away on these wet tyres. Track really doesn't look dry though. Obviously there's some rain overnight. And now, just like Silverstone, it looks like he's going to be putting away. He's going to the final set. Oh, it's raining. Rain dance has worked before the race. Let's look at it starting the pour. It's gold for McDonald's. Dovi ahead of Vinales. Onto the podium. What a fantastic result that would be. Vinales off the podium again. Not as good in the wet conditions as his more illustrious teammate as we go on to the second out of the race. McDonald putting away in the lead. Almost 2 seconds ahead of Rossi, but again on this second lap, just like in Silverstone, he's countering the rainfall in these wetter track conditions for the first time. He might be a bit all over the place in this second lap. We've got a long race here, 7 laps long. There's K.O. Abraham down on his Aspar. from 19th. Czech rider not scoring any points today. That's Rossi 2.4 back. Dovi in third. The home crowd will be very happy about that, seeing two Italians on the podium. But not about seeing the Kenyan at the front, no. As all Vinales takes back that third position from the Ducati. But Dovi having none of it into the hairpin, taking it right back. That's Rossi almost 3 seconds behind McDonald. After that lap and a half of this race, so the helicopter pilot's now going over the far section. You have some spectacular shots. The spray through this right-hander. Just got to be cautious through here, not clipping any of these curves. Be nice and smooth as well as you go into the right-hand hairpin. 4.4 second gap behind to Rossi now. McDonald is just making this race his own. I believe he, like the other McDonald, he's unbeaten in wet conditions. Don't know like it's going to end anytime soon, as Vinales and Dovi still battling like a hell. 4/3 is, Sam Lowe's down from 23rd on his Aprilia. There's Rossi 4.7 seconds back. Don't be a fast start, 34.7, and he's just going to get fastest. The track actually not optimal for these wet tyres on that opening of that, but now with the rain falling, just going to get better for these wet tyres, and McDonald, a bit like Silverstone, maybe just get faster every lap. As these conditions start to get better, the wet tyres, he's got 5.5 second gap behind to Rossi now. And look at this bike singing in the rain. Just like the Suzuki. And you saw how smooth this bike was in the dry. Seems to be even smoother in the wet. Or was that just McDonald in his smooth self in the wet conditions? He's a monster in these conditions. So he has to get it down to 5th. Sam on the brakes. And again through the second right, then down to 3rd. Bit off the line, turned in slightly early. So again, use the brakes to help with the steering slightly there. Go on the exit of the hairpin. Oh, and the helicopter pilot is now just cruising towards the VIP boxes. Trying to get wet t-shirts, is he? Shots of those. We won't put it past the Italian director to try and do that as we go on to the 4th lap. Or any TV director, to be fair. So they're all the time with F1. The TV director trying to get a picture of the handsome ladies. And all of motorsport. I know it's especially egregious with the MotoGP channel at the moment. With the good girls. Some of those videos are absolutely disgusting. As we've got around half a race to go. We've got Rossi and Vinales now battling for second. Vinales again coming on strong maybe in the second half of the race. Not as strong as McDonald, but getting up there. So McDonald runs wide through the double right. Lucky nowadays there's so much tarmac run off. You can virtually go to another country and back. So he goes very wide in that first right-hander as well. He's struggling. And there's that McDonald. But very aggressive through that second right. Just lifting. Seems to have regained his composure there after a couple of very ragged corners. Tyre wear is not looking good though on the front. It's around halfway worn. May struggle, maybe understeer on the final lap. But he's already understeering going into the final corner. And then it's around a quarter of the way worn on the rear. As you've got 3 laps to go. And was slotted into 35s, and it's like time-wise. You know, it's a bit slow that previous lap. Being very risky as well, using all of the curves. You can see the rain went away on that 4th lap. Maybe that's why, and it's starting to rain again now. No, it's just sprinkling. It's not heavy rain like Silverstone, where it really poured it down. And those middle laps. There's all Rossi back up to second here with Vinales. They're battling for second and the championship lead, remember. McDonald battling to gain some points back. Because if Vinales finishes in third, he's gained 9 points on the Spaniard and be just 3 points behind him. And then he's 10 points behind Rossi. So if Rossi finishes second, like it looks like he will, he'd be 6 points behind Rossi with 5 races remaining. And Rossi would be in the championship lead. It is absolutely ridiculous how close it could be after this race, depending where the Yamaha riders finish. As once again, time and scoring not updating at all in the bottom left. We just assume McDonald's winning by a few laps, I think, at this point. As he finally hooks up that final corner. Helicopter pilots finally figured out how to turn round. So McDonald almost back into the 34s. 35-2 on this penultimate lap now. Just looks so smooth in these conditions and in control. I know what he looks like on the Yamaha for most of his time riding it. Even in his only victory rounds, it's the Circuit of the Americas, wasn't it? Third race of this season. Still struggling with the rear and getting the power down on that Yamaha, but still had the pace somehow. Same in Jerez in the next race. Got helped out. Pedrosa falling to finish second, but somehow had pace in that race to finish on the podium, despite again being all over the place. But it's much smoother on the Suzuki in comparison to the Yamaha, still not that smooth. And again, the LCR is proving to be much smoother again than the Suzuki, and this actually seems to be a smooth bike to ride, like the Aventura from last season. Maybe it's because they're slightly down on power, maybe, compared to the full factory bikes. Just helps with that smooth riding style. And smooth is fast, remember. It's proven to be again in this race, as he's just got 1 lap to go. McDonald, he's about to go into the final lap in this race in Italy, or San Marino, should I say. He dips back into the 34s, 34.8. Might say it's fast lap on this final lap. So we're wondering where Dovi is as well in all of this. Remember, he's pretty close in the championship too. He may be starting to fall back slightly from the top 3. As I said, it could be incredibly close if Rossi finishes ahead of Vinales between the Yamahas and McDonald's. But if Dovi finishes 4th, what do you score if you finish 4th? How many points is that? That's 13, isn't it? My mouse is correct off the top of my head, or 14. Of course, in the normal FIA score would be 12 points. But in MotoGP, the FIM scoring, and they're scoring it slightly different. I think it's 13, so Dovi would be around a race win back then. As Rossi would take 7 points off him. And he's already around 18, 19 points back. So yeah, the Ducati could start to fall back slightly in this championship battle. With 5 rounds remaining. But McDonald's not falling back. He sets another 34.8 in the final lap. Oh, about that consistency in the final couple of laps. And another dominant victory in the wet by 16.7 seconds as Rossi beats out Vinales by a couple of tenths. Another close finish to second for Rossi, with Dovi in 4th, Marcus 5th, ahead of Pedrosa, and Renzo Crutchlow, his teammate, down in 8th, ahead of Zarco and Scott running around at the top 10. Petrucci not even scoring a point in the wet. What the hell? With Ian only 11th, Folger 12th, Jack Miller once again strong on that Mark VDS machine from the Australian 13th, head of Baptista, and Alex Rins scoring the final point with Sam Lowe's right at the back. So in the championship, Rossi takes back the championship lead by 2 points ahead of Vinales, with McDonald just 5 points back. Oh, my mouth is wrong. No surprise there after another victory, and his first victory in a row So you've got Dovi just under a race win back, actually 24 points back, and Marcus just under 2 race wins back in 5th, 44 points back. But it is incredibly close between the top 3. What a championship we have, with Petrucci in 6th, just 8 points now ahead of Pedrosa, who climbs back up to 7th ahead of Lorenzo by a single point, with Crutcher rounding out the top 10. And then in the constructors standings, you've got Yamaha 52 points ahead of Honda, who grab back 2nd ahead of Ducati by just 4 points. Suzuki in 4th, Aprilia 5th, KTM at the back. Well, LCR Honda climb up to 2nd by 9 points ahead of Ducati, while the Works Honda team are 19 points back behind the Italian constructor. Well, the Yamaha team lead by a comfortable 121 points. And then we've got Premac in 5th, Tech 3 6th, Suzuki 7th, with Red Bull right at the back. I should say the KTM effort as well. Well, McDonald celebrates another victory on another new team. The only team he hasn't won on board of was the Gresini, wasn't it? At least at MotoGP level has. Can he make it 3 victories in a row next time out round the Motorland Aragon circuit in Spain? South watching, we'll find out next time.